Before every NFL season, all the pundits and so-called experts make their predictions for who's going to be in the Super Bowl, and those picks usually derive from two areas: teams that were good the season before, and teams that made moves to, quote, win the offseason. Sometimes chalk prevails, but many other times we get surprised. We don't care about chalk here, give us the unexpected. We're going to go through the 10 most unlikely Super Bowl matchups of all time, and we'll be using good old C-score to do so, taking the combined C-score of the two Super Bowl participants from the previous season. The lower that combined number, the more unlikely the Super Bowl matchup. As always, a deeper explanation of C-score will be in the description below. Thank you so much for joining us today as we begin our countdown. We kick things off at number 10 with a game that should be very familiar to most, if not all of you. Super Bowl 51 between the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. The season before, the Patriots clocked in with an 18.019 C-score. The Falcons were underwater at worse than -8. Their combined C-score just under 10 total points, 9.933. The Patriots did their part in making this a more likely matchup, going 12-4 in 2015 and making it to the AFC Championship game. They kept churning along in classic Patriots fashion, beating up an easy schedule and getting deep in the playoffs. The Atlanta Falcons actually played an even easier schedule, second easiest in the entire league, while still finishing 8-8, being slightly outscored and missing the playoffs altogether, not really being on anybody's radar. Now, the Super Bowl game itself is well known, of course, with the Falcons taking a 28-3 lead in the third quarter before capitulating and deciding that they just didn't want to be Super Bowl champions, giving that title to New England. We move just a few years ahead for our number 9 entry, Super Bowl 54, between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. The Chiefs were excellent the year before, 22.427 in C-score. It's the 49ers that almost single-handedly make this an unlikely matchup with their near -15 C-score. Combined, they are just under 8 points, 7.793. Now, Kansas City had been good for a few seasons before The Niners were a mess, partly due to injuries, but they were 4-12 and would wind up with the second pick in the NFL draft, which they wisely used on a backfield wrecker, Nick Bosa. They rose from a great distance to get to this game. Now, it wasn't as dramatic as the game we just covered, but San Francisco did blow a double-digit lead, unable to complete the epic turnaround. And of course, the common denominator for both the Falcons and the 49ers was Kyle Shanahan. We'll now travel back a little more than a decade for our number 8 entry, Super Bowl 43, between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals. The 2007 Steelers did what they could, sharing a conference with an undefeated team, putting up a C-score near 13. While the Cardinals were the Cardinals, and they were below average at -8.291, their combined C-score 4.57. The Steelers just don't have very many bad seasons, and 2007 wasn't much of an exception, going 10-6, outscoring their opponents by 124 points, and winning the AFC North before falling at home to Jacksonville in the wildcard round. The Cardinals just don't have very many good seasons, and 2007 wasn't much of an exception. An 8-8 record against the NFL's second easiest schedule, and a general air of uncertainty throughout the roster. Arizona wasn't exactly a favorite even once the playoffs started, but they did make it to the Super Bowl, and we got one of the greatest Super Bowls ever played. And on the backs of two of the greatest plays in NFL history, Pittsburgh prevailed. At number 7, we have the beginning of the post-Cowboys and 49ers era in Super Bowl 31 between the New England Patriots and the Green Bay Packers. The Patriots have the second worst previous season C-score that we've seen so far at -13.7, while the Packers cleared 17, and by doing so, they made this a positive combined number of 3.711. New England's 1994 playoff appearance was followed by a bad 95 season, where they went 6-10 and were in the bottom 10 of the league in both points scored and points allowed. Green Bay's emergence continued in 1995, winning a division title and advancing to the NFC Championship game after going into San Francisco and handling the defending Super Bowl champion 49ers. The Pats definitely put up a fight in the Super Bowl, but they weren't just facing a good team here. They were facing a historically great team, and in the end, the Packers won their first Super Bowl since Vince Lombardi himself roamed the sidelines. Nearing the midway point of the countdown at number 6, we get the New England Patriots once again. This time, their trek on the way to Super Bowl 38 against the Carolina Panthers. The season before, the Patriots were 8.651 in C-score. The Panthers were almost a mirror opposite, but not quite, minus 8.355. The combined C-score for these two teams, barely over 0 at .296. After shocking the world by winning Super Bowl 36, New England fell to 9-7 in 2002, finishing in a three-way tie for first in a very muddled AFC East. But they lost out on both the division title and a playoff spot based on tiebreakers. The Panthers improved from a terrible 2001 season, but they still weren't really on anybody's radar in 2002, after a 7-9 season where they were the third lowest scoring team in the league. Yet we got another thrilling contest that truly resembled a roller coaster, with 0 points scored in both the first and third quarters, 24 points scored in the second, and a ridiculous 37 scored in the fourth, with New England scoring the last 3 for the win. On to number 5, and for the third straight entry and the fourth overall, we're getting the New England Patriots, this time out of Super Bowl 36 in their matchup with the St. Louis Rams. With just about a negative 8.4 C-score the season before, they outdid the Rams on the positive realm, who pulled out a 7.762. That means we get our first combined negative C-score here, minus .641. New England was undergoing a major transition in 2000. Their first under head coach Bill Belichick, and although they were 5-11, they were a lot better than that record would indicate based on their point differential and strength of schedule. The Rams were still piling up the points in 2000, but they weren't the same unit they were in their Super Bowl winning season of 1999, especially on defense, where they slumped to almost 30 points allowed per game. I say this a lot on this channel, but only because it's true. Bill Belichick devised the perfect game plan in this Super Bowl, with the defense scoring as many touchdowns in this game as the offense did, in turn pulling off one of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history. We only need to go back one season earlier for our number 4 entry, Super Bowl 35 between the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants. The Ravens barely cleared the average bar of C-score, getting around 2.2, while the Giants fell to almost a full negative 8. The combined C-score here, minus 5.746. In 1999, the Ravens achieved their first positive C-score since becoming the Ravens, putting up an 8-8 record that included 5 losses by a single possession, beginning the separation from their former Cleveland Browns selves. The 1999 New York Giants were just very blah. They went 7-9 their second consecutive season with fewer wins than the prior season, and conjured little to no excitement beyond being in the nation's largest television markets. This Super Bowl also offered little to no excitement, serving as an exception to this point, as every Super Bowl we've looked at so far has proven at least competitive by the end. Not here, as the Ravens dominated all the way through. It was a pretty close call between number 4 and number 3, but we're getting a very recent game here. Super Bowl 56, that would be between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams. The Bengals are the ones who really brought this down with their minus 18.13 C-score. This serving as the lowest score we'll see from any team anywhere in the top 10. The Rams couldn't pull up enough weight here to get this combined score above 0 with a 12.1. That made their combined score negative 5.965, almost negative 6. The 2020 NFL season is a difficult one, and it deserves a larger asterisk than any other season ever. That said, the Bengals just weren't good, still trying to find their way with a 4-11-1 record and yet another high draft pick. The Rams did much better, enjoying their third straight winning season after a decade plus of futility, going 10-6 and winning a playoff game before losing to the Packers in the divisional round. Playing on their own home field, the Rams were able to withstand a devastating start to the second half and drive down to score the game-winning points, adding even more heartbreak to the Bengals' Super Bowl legacy. Silver medal time. We're at number 2, and that will be Super Bowl 34 between the Tennessee Titans and the St. Louis Rams. This is our first instance where both teams had a negative C-score the season before. The Titans just missing hitting 0, negative .242, while the Rams were pushing the negative 9 mark, and combined, they came up with a negative 9.153. Still playing as the Oilers, Tennessee was circling the sink without heading toward the drain, going 8-8 for a third consecutive season across 3 different cities. They were the epitome of average. The Rams in 1998 were what they were every other season of the 90s, terrible. Although, even though they were 4-12 and 24th in both points scored and points allowed, it was by a hair their best C-score of the decade to that point. Also having moved cities from LA to St. Louis, this relocation bowl also goes down as one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, decided on the very last play of the game. But in a nice change of pace, it was a defensive play that brought it home for the Rams. We've now made it to number 1, and quite frankly, this isn't even close. We have Super Bowl 16 between the Cincinnati Bengals and the San Francisco 49ers. We saw in our previous entry that both teams had negative C-scores the season before. In this case, both teams had negative double-digit C-scores. Cincinnati around -10, the 49ers beyond -15.5. The combined C-score between these two, negative 26.089. The Bengals were trying to find their footing in 1980 after back-to-back 4-12 seasons. They improved but only finished 6-10. As the powers in the AFC Central started to wane, Cincinnati was able to make their leap forward. The 49ers were also an improved team in 1980, also finishing 6-10, but this after back-to-back records of 2-14. Under head coach Bill Walsh, a former Bengals assistant, San Fran was making their leap forward. And what we got from this was not only a first-time Super Bowl matchup, but a matchup of first-time teams in the Super Bowl, something that has only ever happened one more time since. The Bengals fought hard without question, but the Niners walked out winners on their way to a dynasty. Looking now at the top 10 as a whole, as mentioned, there is a chasm between Super Bowl 16 and the rest of the field, the gap between 1 and 2 nearly being big as the gap from 2 to 10. But by and large, these were close games, with 7 decided by 1 possession, and only 1, the Ravens and Giants game, being a true blowout. Thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you liked what you saw, and I'm hoping that you did, then hit that thumbs up button down below. Share the video too, and if it so moves you, subscribe to the channel and ding that bell for future notifications. The same old are being predicted for Super Bowl 59, even this far out from the season. But we could get a matchup that beats out Super Bowl 16. Here are all the teams that had negative double-digit C-scores in 2023. Could these teams find themselves in the Super Bowl? I mean, stranger things have happened. What would be your pick for an unexpected Super Bowl matchup this upcoming season? Sound off on that or anything else you'd like to in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.